This is General Counsel Studio, and I'm your host, Andrew Zizas. I'm joined today by Mr. Mark Boulding, Executive Vice President and Chief Legal Officer of PTC Therapeutics. Mr. Boulding's responsibility at PTC includes management of the Finance, Legal, Quality Assurance, Regulatory, and Human Resources departments and related functions. Prior to joining PTC, Mr. Boulding was the General Counsel and Executive Vice President, Government and Regulatory Affairs of Medicalogic Medscape, Inc., a publicly traded company offering healthcare software and information products to both physicians and consumers. Mr. Boulding was a law firm partner in private practice in Washington, D.C., specializing in healthcare and technology law with a focus on pharmaceutical, biotech, and high-tech companies. Founded by its CEO, Stuart Peltz, in 1998, PTC Therapeutics is a spin-out of the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. PTC is a life sciences company seeking to discover and develop new drugs to treat rare disorders and cancer. PTC has collaborated with many leading companies, including AstraZeneca, Celgene, Genzyme, Merck, Pfizer, and Roche. Mr. Boulding is here today to talk to us about a very interesting topic entitled CLO, Platform to Drive Operations and Growth. Mark, it's great to have you here on General Counsel Studio.
Thanks, Andy. Good to be here.
So, Mark, you've got a very, very diverse background. You're overseeing, at PTC, you're overseeing legal, of course, as CLO. Mm-hmm. You're overseeing regulatory affairs, quality assurance, HR, and finance, yet you're not a CFO.
No, I'm not a CFO.
So how's all this work?
So, I think part of it is, as a company grows, it goes through different stages. In the initial stage, you have people that do their functional jobs and do them well. You get a little bigger, you need managers who manage other managers. And I think by virtue of being at PTC long enough, I was able to take on a lot of the operational functions. It's unusual for a lawyer to get them, but hopefully the work that I did before led them to trust me.
Presumably
yes,
they do. But
that's right.
So let me make sure I understand. You've got various departments reporting up to you, and each department is run by presumably someone of a senior level.
Absolutely. I mean, for example, in the finance area, we have a VP of finance, very strong technical accounting background, worked for an audit firm, was in the audit function. Regulatory affairs, same way. Quality assurance, the same way. Okay. So my job is really to work with our founder, Stuart Peltz, who's an entrepreneur. And he needs to be able to do what he does best, which is innovate, think about the future. And so he needs somebody like me to take care of some of the operational functions to free him up to do that.
Got it. Oh, now that makes perfect sense to me. Given your origins in your career as a legal officer, general counsel, private practice lawyer, and to where you've come, is this the result of things just being thrust on top of you? Were you led here, or was this a career decision on your part?
That's a great question, actually. And I think people don't think of lawyers as escaping the legal bubble so much.
I would agree with that.
But one thing I did early on in my career was visualize where I wanted to be. Was very unhappy in my initial job at a corporate law firm doing general corporate law and some litigation. And started thinking about what kinds of industries would I like, what kinds of job functions would I like, what would make me engaged in the workplace. And worked very slowly. It's a long process to do that. And then inside, once I became an in-house lawyer, general counsel, started thinking about what other areas could I engage in that would interest me and keep me motivated. You got to keep motivated if you're going to keep coming to work every day.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think a lot of lawyers don't see a way through that box, but it only requires that you think your way through to get through it.
Well, it sounds like it was a combination of thinking and planning.
That's right.
And sure sounds like you're a true strategist.
Yeah. Well, you can't always plan perfectly. A great example, actually, an uncle of mine is a professor, or was a professor of architecture and urban planning at University of Michigan. Very distinguished architect. I always looked at him as the kind of guy that planned his life perfectly. And he told me one day when I was going to law school, he said, Mark, I never planned any of this. I just took advantage of opportunities over time. It's only in retrospect that it looks like a plan. I think that's true. You see in front of you a path. You don't see where the path leads. But if it interests you, follow it. And over time, when you look back, it will be your path.
Well, that's kind of like what I've heard recently, that those who are lucky are really those who see opportunity that they're prepared for.
Yeah, I actually like a quote from Thomas Jefferson even better. Thomas, or at least it's attributed to him. He is supposed to have said, I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it.
Yeah, the luckier I get. I appreciate that. Well, so you're responsibilities at PTC are very unique, but I've got to believe that you've come across some unique complexities as well.
Yeah, we're in a very interesting industry, the life sciences industry. So you start out often with very small companies. When I joined PTC, it was about 40 people, 40 to 50 people.
40 or 50?
Yeah, 4050 people.
Yeah.
And now we're about 125.
How long ago was that?
That was over a decade ago, actually.
That's great.
Yeah, it's longer than any of us expected.
Yeah.
It's an interesting industry because you start small and you grow to be much bigger, but from the beginning, even as a small company, you're international. And so
in your industry?
In my industry,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So you're developing, hopefully, therapies that will be available worldwide. And you'll find that they're manufactured worldwide, the intellectual property is worldwide. So you have to expand your horizons much faster on the global scale than most startup companies. You know, for example, for the last few years, you know, I have been involved, my department negotiates agreements with service providers, with clinical trial providers. They come across my desk for signature and review. They're in every language you can imagine. You know, they're in French, French, Italian, Spanish, Korean. And we have to have a translation service to translate those for us. So this is just a unique feature of the industry that's very interesting and makes it exciting.
So global company, right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Multi-language contracts.
Yep.
That I have to believe it goes beyond just the linguistics to the point where you've got to deal with regulation.
Yeah.
Right?
Each country has its own regulatory structure. Each country has its own national laws. And you have to become conversant in those or hire people who are to help you work through it. And another ramification of all this is the interesting impact on the workforce. We have an incredibly diverse workforce. We took an inventory once of national languages spoken in our company, and it was a very high number. We just yesterday had our international potluck luncheon. So a lot of our employees come and they make different meals from different countries. And it's just wonderful from all over the world, you know, from Europe, from South America, from Asia, United States.
So you had an international lunch. So pizza with sushi, is that what it was?
No. You know, I had some dishes, I'm a foodie. I had some dishes I'd never had before. I had something called duck, which is a kind of fancy rice cake with different ingredients. You know, I had a wonderful dessert, which I think is Mexican or South American, called 3-milk cake, which won the prize for best dessert.
Tres leche.
Yeah, Tres leche. Yeah, it's awesome.
Leche.
Yeah. So
wow, sounds like you're having a blast.
Oh, it's a great company to work for.
Now you've been there 10 years.
Yep.
Well, more than 10 years,
Yeah.
and I've got to believe you experienced a lot of challenges, and aside from the complexities, share with me in your very diverse role what contributions you made towards solving some of the challenges, and maybe you can describe some of the challenges.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest challenge for any life sciences company today is fundraising. So it's incredibly difficult now, and it's becoming more difficult to bring a drug from idea to market. So raising the money to do that is really, really hard. And one of the challenges we faced at PTC is, as we looked at our business plan, the capital needs were incredible, more than we could ever ask our venture investors, or private, to fund. And so we forged kind of a new business model. We struck out on the business development front, and by struck out, I mean we looked for business development partners to help fund, not struck out of that. We raised raised a significant amount of money that way. And we also, to develop our pipeline, we worked with governments and nonprofits to get grant dollars. So one thing that's very hard in life sciences is finding the seed capital to start from an idea and get to the molecules that can be therapies potentially. And we've done a lot of work with foundations, including the Spinal Muscular Atrophy Foundation, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Muscular Dystrophy Association, Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy. All these groups, Wellcome Trust is another, have funded basic research at PTC, and then we can then take those forward, those programs, as our own, or partner them to take them even further forward.
And these are organizations that previously hadn't provided a lot of funding, so it must be like you're doing it first time each time.
Each time there's something unique to it, and in a lot of cases there's kind of special situations that you have to deal with. And so one thing we found internally is we had to help structure these deals. We had to listen to our partner, think about what their needs were, and it might be different than a classic business deal. Now your average business development or legal person comes to a deal with an army of forms and experience, and you know what the deal is going to look like, and you put it together. With these nonprofit deals, you're often starting with a blank sheet of paper. And so you've got to put together something novel. And we found we couldn't use outside counsel for that. We had to take it all inside to work the structure of the deal and put it all together. So that was a great challenge, but I think as PTC we've done a great job of it, to the point where for every dollar of venture capital we brought in, we've raised $2 from grants or business development.
So where's all this going? What's the long-term plan for PTC?
Well, we're a little bit old school in that respect. So we are building PTC to be a fully integrated pharmaceutical company. So it is our goal to bring our medicines to market and to market them ourselves, at least in the US, possibly in Europe, possibly on a worldwide basis. Now we may need to work with partners, we may need to transition, but the idea is to build a new pharmaceutical company. That was something that in the grand old days of biotech, everybody wanted to do. It's become much, much harder these days, but we're working very hard at that. We want to be around for the long term.
And contrary to the smart money that, develop the drug and sell the whole business.
It's interesting you say smart money. It seems to change every year. The flavor of the month, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's actually best said.
And actually, by sticking to your course, I think you set yourself up best for whatever your future leads to. You're building a functioning, great business, then other opportunities may come your way.
And, it sure sounds like you've got the management structure in place to support that.
Yes, I think we really do have a great, robust management structure. I'm privileged to be part of the team. We've got myself, I'm mostly handling the operational functions, as you mentioned. We have a clinical department with a great clinical team heading that. Research is its own silo. We have a president who handles our external commercial functions, advocacy, and business development.
All on a private basis.
That's right. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Mark, what excites you about going to work?
The great thing about working for PTC is what we're trying to do. I tell my kids, what do you do, Daddy? Well, I'm working for a company that's trying to cure rare diseases. We're working on muscular dystrophy, working on cystic fibrosis, working on spinal muscular atrophy.
Wow.
These are terrible diseases that kill children.
Yeah.
To be part of that, when my kids hear that story, they say, Daddy, I want to be just like you. And that's what every dad wants to hear.
That's tremendous to hear that from your kids. Mark, I got time for one more question. Now, I know
Sure.
that PTC has a mission of helping foster growth of companies in New Jersey, and especially in the life sciences arena. So what advice would you offer to executives who want to explore their entrepreneurial side?
I think too often people kind of take it for granted that they're stuck working for whatever big company they started working for. In the downturn in 2008, I heard a great story from a venture capital firm that we were talking to. And he said it was a firm with West Coast and East Coast offices. In the East Coast offices, with all the layoffs, they saw just a flood of resumes. On the West Coast, it was a flood of business plans.
East Coast resumes, West Coast business plans.
Right. Silicon Valley culture,
Very
start a company. I'm sure in Boston there were probably quite a few business plans as well, because
imagine.
that's a center of innovation as well.
Sure.
But I think people need to think more about that. Just because you have training as a lawyer, training as an accountant, training in whatever discipline, and you're working for a big company, doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can think about starting new things. It's not so hard. Here in New Jersey, there's great organizations like BioNJ or the New Jersey Technology Council can help people start their own businesses. If we want New Jersey's economy to be better, then we need to help grow companies. We need to help foster innovation in the state. And at PTC, that's a big mission for us. It's a big mission for me personally.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm very happy to hear that that's PTC's plan for the future.
Absolutely.
To help other companies accomplish what it itself is accomplishing.
Absolutely.
Mark, this has been fantastic. I hope you'll come back and see us again and tell us more about PTC in the future.
I'd love to do that. It'd be my pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Andrew Zizas, your host at General Counsel Studio, with Mark Boulding of PTC Therapeutics, saying thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again.